Okay, Tov, we are continuing in Megilat Ruth Perek Aleph Pasuk Bet. V'shem Ha'ish Elimelech. This is talking about there was a man that left, where we said, from Yehuda, from Bethlehem to go with his wife and kids to Sde Moav. V'shem Ha'ish Elimelech. The name of the man is Elimelech. V'shem Ishto Naomi. The name of his wife is Naomi. V'shem Shnei Banav Machlon v'Chilion. And his two sons were named Machlon and Chilion. Ephratim. They were Ephratim. Mi Bet Lechem Yehuda. From Bethlehem in the place of Yehuda. So why do we have to mention Bethlehem Yehuda again? Not sure. Ephratim. What does Ephratim mean? Rashi says Ephratim means chashuv, important people. Important people. And they were so important as the Chachamim tell us that Ruth, I mean, they would have seen the next pasuk. They married Ruth. Ruth was a princess. She was the daughter of Melech Moav. So the king of Moav, he sees this guy Elimelech, who's a wealthy man, who comes from Israel. He's an important man, and they made a shidduch. So they were Ephratim, important people. Mibet Lechem Yehuda, Vayavo Sede Moav, and they came to the fields of Moav, Vayu Sham. And they were there. We'll see what this means in a moment. An additional explanation to the word Ephratim, Rashi says, is that Bethlehem is also called Ephrat. There's a city called Ephrat. I think it's near Bethlehem. So another name for Bethlehem is Ephrat. Till this day, yeah. Both Bethlehem as well. That's where Rachel Imenu was buried. So what does this mean? Vayusham, and they were there. Well, obviously, if they went there, they were there. So the Gaon of Vilna explains that, as we said, that Elimelech and his family left because he didn't want to share his wealth in a time of Rav, in a time of famine. He didn't want to share his wealth with the community. And Moab were people that the reason why they're not allowed to marry and to convert, except for the woman, I mean the men are not allowed to convert to Judaism, is because al davar asher lo kidmu etchem belechem u'mayim. They didn't come when we were traveling in the desert. They didn't bring us water, etc. They weren't people of chesed, even though they come from Lot, and Avraham Avinu took care of Lot. They should have recognized Avraham Avinu risked his life to save Lot. Lot was a prisoner of war. They should have recognized, well, my Jewish cousins are here, let me pay back a little bit. No, there's zero chesed in them. So Elimelech went to a place that was like him. He was also cheap, and these people were the same. Now, Vayusham therefore means, even though Elimelech was a Jew, Elimelech came from Israel. He's going to a new place. When you go to a new place, it takes time to acclimate. You're not going to be a Moavi, right away, or maybe you won't ever be a Moavi. You're a Jewish guy from Israel. Vayusham unfortunately means they got to become, says the Gaon Vilna, like a Moavi. They found each other. They married the children, unfortunately, and they were one. The next pasuk Gimel, Vayamot Elimelech ish Naomi. Elimelech died, and it was an early death. Vayamot Elimelech died, ish Naomi. He was the man of Naomi. And also, what does this mean? We just explained that he was the husband of Naomi. We'll see what this means. But Tishaer he ushne vanea, and she was left with her two sons. Naomi was left with her two sons. Rashi explains, what does it mean, ish Naomi? This means that he was the main one of the family, and he was like ruling over her. Meaning, he was the man of Naomi. He was the strong influence in the family, and that's why only he died, because he was the one that made the decision. We're leaving Israel. We're not giving our money to anybody, and she was the wife that just happened to go along with it. So she was a tzaddiket. That's Naomi and Ruth. We're going to see she's a tzaddiket. But unfortunately, he was a ish Naomi. He ruled over her, and that's why he was the one that got the punishment as opposed to her. And that's also the Gaon of Vilna explains. The Midrash says that Naomi and the two sons were like the leftovers of a mincha, of a korban mincha. Korban mincha, and so what does this mean? The Gaon of Vilna explains. A korban mincha, you bring flour, and not sure how much, but it's a fair amount. And the Kohen does a kmitza. He takes his finger, he scoops up a little bit, shaves off the top, shaves off the bottom. In this amount of flour that he gets, that's a kmitza. That's going to be the korban. The leftover is shirei mincha, the leftovers of the mincha, which there's halachot with regards to who could eat it, etc. But this is the main thing. The leftovers, though, is much more than what is actually taken. So you might say, Elimelech dies, Vatishaer, and what's left is Naomi and the two sons. Hold on a second. Naomi and two sons is three people. Elimelech died as one person. This is the majority is alive. Baruch Hashem. So why are you saying leftover? This is the leftovers. It's not the leftovers. There are three alive and one died. So it comes to show us, to say that Elimelech was the main person over here. And he was the main one driving the ship. He was the main one that made this decision. So just like the leftovers of the mincha, the main part is even the smaller part. The main part and the leftover, even though the majority still called the leftovers, here as well, she and her two sons were called the leftovers because Elimelech was the Ish Naomi, he was the Ikar. One more pasuk. Pasuk Dalid. Vayisu lahem nashim Moaviyot. And they married for themselves ladies that were Moaviyot. Shem ha'achat Orpah, one of them was named Orpah, Shem ha'shenit Ruth, and the other one was named Ruth. Vayeshevu sham ke'eser shanim. And they dwelled there ke'eser shanim, like 10 years. I was wondering, what does it mean, like 10 years? Rashi doesn't explain, the Gaon of Vilna doesn't explain. The Malbim gives an explanation and says that unfortunately, they went to Moab without having the thought of ever going back to Israel. And therefore, they weren't really counting how long they were in Moab for. They're done with Israel, they're not going back. So Ke'eser Shanim is around 10 years because they forgot about Israel. They were totally, unfortunately, so wanting to be with Moab, etc., that they totally forgot about it. So it's like 10 years, it was like whatever that number was, whatever it is, a very light way. That's the Malbim explains, unfortunately. So the Gaon of Vilna says, what does the name Ruth come from? So he quotes the Gemara in Masechet Brachot that says, Ruth comes from, that she was Zocheh, it's going to come from her, David HaMelech, it's going to sing Shirot v'Tishbachot. Shirot, Shirut. Shirot, the last three letters is Root. Shirut, Root. So Root comes from Shirot. The thing is, though, the Gaon of Vilna asks, if we're learning it from there, her name should have been Shir. Not Rot from Shirot, Shirut, the last three letters. So call her Shir. If it's Shirot, V'Tishbachot from David, call her Shir. So he explains as follows. As we said yesterday in the introduction, she already had 7 mitzvot with her. What was added to her was the other 606. 606 is when she became converted. That's the gematria. That's 606 is Taf Resh Vav. Taf Vav Resh, like the first 3 letters of the word Torah. Tor. The opposite of the letters of root. So she already had 7. 606 is added to her when she does. So maybe her name should have been Tor. If we're going to add 606, the way is these letters, like the word Torah, Tor. So therefore it should have been her name Tor. Says the Gemara, no, her name's Ruth, the other way around, to also connect Shirot and Tishbachot, to also connect them both. So he's saying her name should have been Tor because of the 606 mitzvot that were added to the 7. Why is it Ruth the other way around? To connect to the word Shirot. So it's a combination of the additional mitzvot that were added to her and a combination of that that she later had, David HaMelech, who sang Shirot v'Tishbachot to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So that's the meaning of the name of Ruth that the Gaon of Vilna over here explains. And Bezrat Hashem will continue tomorrow on unlocking further the greatness of Megilat Ruth. Baruch Adonai Le'olam, Amen v'Amen. Rabbi Yochanan Ne'eman HaKasha Omer, Ratzah HaKadosh Baruch Hu lezakot et Yisafir Chayei Adam Torah Maso Shneimar, Adonai Chavetz Mal Tzidko Yehudi Torah v'Yadir.